Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. For today's video, we're going to take an up-close and personal, in-depth look with the all-new 2016 Fiat 500X. This example is a trek-in and is priced at $25,700, including destination. A full price breakdown can be found in the description box below. Big thanks to Fiat for providing our week-long tester. As always, guys, this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the 500X. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip, go over the performance data, take it on a thorough road test, and show you many of the unique aspects of both the interior as well as exterior. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. The remote start and smart key access system is standard on all trim levels except for the pop. Our tester is finished in Bronzo Magnetico, or bronze metallic, paired with premium black cloth upholstery and synthetic leather. Genuine leather is standard on the Trekking Plus and optional on the Lounge, but we'll discuss trim levels and equipment more in depth later on. To start, make sure you have the key fob within the interior, put your foot on the brake, then hit the column mounted button to go. The 500X features electrically assisted rack and pinion steering that's routed through a 3-spoke multifunction steering wheel with a sporty flat bottom design. All but the pop feature nicely detailed tuck and roll leather wrapping, including the spokes, and highlighted by black cross stitching. It has an overall ratio of 15.7 and takes about 2.7 turns to lock. The turning radius is a foot wider than the Jeep Renegade, but with its small size, it still maintains great maneuverability in tight areas. The grip bolsters up top are a nice touch, and the ergonomic placement of the controls, including the radio controls behind the upper spokes, makes it easy to access everything you need without distraction. Through the drive modes in the center console, you can firm up the steering when the dial is switched to Sport, otherwise it remains smooth and relaxed. There's two different transmissions available based on which engine you choose. A 1.4-liter turbo 4-cylinder is standard on the pop, more or less the same engine found in the Fiat 500 Abarth. That engine is paired exclusively with a 6-speed manual transmission for those wanting to row their own gears. The rest of the lineup features a naturally aspirated 2.4-liter 4-cylinder that's shared with a number of other Chrysler products, albeit with slight variations in power. Also optional on the pop, the larger engine is paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission that leads to pretty good fuel economy and performance for the class. Manual shifting can be performed via the gear selector by tipping it to the left while in drive, pushing it forward to downshift, and pulling back to upshift. Currently, no paddle shifters are offered. All in all, the 9-speed seems like a fine transmission, just like it was in the Jeep Renegade. Shifts are quickened and made more dramatic while in sport mode. On the flip side though, you do seem to lose a little bit of smoothness while in sport mode, especially at low speeds between first and second gear, where there was a bit more hesitation than I would have preferred. When pushed harder though, the adaptive software responded appropriately, eliminating that hesitation for quick acceleration, but there was still some lag on high-speed kickdowns as the transmission searched for the right gear. Otherwise, the behavior is practically identical to the Renegade, which didn't feature any form of sport mode. It's definitely a quirky vehicle, but in the best way possible. I really enjoyed my time with it. I mean, it's different. It's more fun to drive, more entertaining, and definitely more agile than the Jeep Renegade. Of course, I'll talk about performance and more detailed driving impressions later in the video. In the center console, you have your drive modes: Sport, Auto, and Traction Plus. Sport mode, like I said, firms up the steering and also increases throttle response, holds the gears longer, and also makes the shifts a little bit more aggressive. If you opt for all-wheel drive, it also optimizes the transmission for lateral forces such as cornering. Auto is the system's default. It's basically your day-to-day setting where the engine and everything is geared more towards fuel economy. Traction Plus puts priority on traction for low grip scenarios and mild off-roading while keeping the engine and transmission in their sport settings. The drive modes all show up in the little driver information system, and they all have different gauges and stuff to monitor various vehicle parameters, such as the sport mode, which shows like an instantaneous power meter. An electronic parking brake can be found in the center console next to the cup holders. So let's go ahead and flip on the automatic projector headlamps, fog lamps, and the hazards. Both front windows are fully automatic. And we'll check out the exterior. Upon closing the door, the interior will chime to let you know it's lost detection of the proximity key fob. The 2016 500X is an all-new entry into the rapidly growing compact crossover segment, combining the iconic Italian flavor of the original Cinquecento with greater usability and passenger space. Designed and built in Italy, the 500X shares its platform and powertrain with the Jeep Renegade. Although similar in many respects, it's a very different vehicle when it comes to its execution and the way it drives. It rides on the same length wheelbase but is slightly longer and wider. Roof height lowers by a few inches or so. It also weighs a good bit less than the Jeep depending on how equipped. I've always been a fan of Fiats, especially the Abarth. They're quirky, fun, and offer consumers something different from the norm, similar in concept to Mini, I suppose. A while ago I reviewed the 500L, their first foray into our crossover market. While I thought it was pretty cool for what it was and offered a lot of practicality, the 500X is a more well-rounded vehicle in many respects. It's meant to be more mass appealing and offer an attractive balance of style and function for the price. Starting out around $20,000 for an entry model, the 500X is priced higher than an entry Renegade, but offers more premium features and amenities. It's available in 5 very distinct trim levels, each coming with their own personality. Pop, Easy, the off-road themed trekking like we have here, luxury themed lounge, and trekking plus. It's also the first Fiat to offer all-wheel drive in addition to front-wheel drive for greater traction in northern states. However, it doesn't offer the extreme off-roading ability you get with a Renegade Trailhawk. Depending on how you spec the 500X, a loaded all-wheel drive lounge can easily hit $30,000, making it kinda pricey for what you get when stacked next to its value-oriented competitors like the Kia Soul. The more I spent time with it though, the more I began to understand the certain charm that comes with it. Maybe it's just the fact that I still think it's cool we get Fiats in North America, but I think it's one of those situations where price might not be a huge factor in people's decisions. There are more practical, lower-priced alternatives out there that some are undoubtedly going to prefer, but when I look at it and drive it, I smile. It's just a car that made me happy, same with any other Fiats I've been in. Sometimes that enjoyment is worth the extra premium. I'd also really like to see an Abarth version of this, that would be sweet. The signature Cinquecento design elements are ever abundant, including the double headlamps, trapezoidal nose, the whiskers and logo face, and the rounded clamshell hood. Opting for the trekking brings more aggressive flavoring to the mix, including a bit less bright work and unique front and rear fascias with gunmetal gray and satin chrome trim. I'm sure folks will be divided on the styling still, but do reserve your judgment till you see it in person. I really liked the muscular demeanor with its bold fender arches and raised center section of the hood. Subtle touches of exterior bright work on the grille, tailgate, and door handles further add to its upscale appearance. The lounge receives more mirror-type chrome and bright work. A lengthy list of options and colors also leads to an appreciable level of customization. Opting for the trekking adds a unique set of 17-inch alloy wheels. The elegant web-spoke design blends a machine face with satin gray inner portions, nicely finished off with an integrated lug nut cover. 215/55 Continental Pro Contact all-season tires can be found on front-wheel drive examples and are able to hold a little under 0.8 G of lateral acceleration. It handles itself pretty good overall for a little crossover. Definitely felt sharper than the Renegade. Stopping from 60 miles an hour takes about 125 feet thanks to 12 by 1.1 inch internally ventilated front discs and 10.95 by 0.47 inch solid rear discs with single floating calipers at each corner. Underneath, the 500X features a fully independent suspension with Koni's Frequency Selective Damping or FSD front and rear strut system. It consists of McPherson struts in front and Chapman struts in the rear, working to filter out unwanted roughness from broken pavement to yield a more compliant ride and road holding ability. In addition to front and rear anti-roll bars, a specifically designed front crossmember provides extra rigidity for reduced interior noise, as well as providing a third load line for greater energy absorption in the event of a crash. The split-type shock absorber mountings transmit road vibrations to the body structure via 2 separate routes for improved acoustics and better damping performance. The chassis also contains an isolated rear cradle which provides the mounting points for the suspension's 2 lateral links and half shafts. The overall suspension design is meant to be lightweight and responsive. The ride is still pretty firm though, firmer than the Renegade, so it's worth comparing to see what you think. Opting for all-wheel drive also adds a disconnecting rear axle to reduce parasitic loss for improved fuel economy. For our tester, overall length is 168.2 inches, width is 75.5 inches with the mirrors folded, and height is 63.1 inches. Wheelbase is 101.2 inches and curb weight is 3,095 pounds. Ground clearance is 7 inches. Standard across most of the lineup is a naturally aspirated 2.4-liter 4-cylinder, otherwise known as the Tiger Shark. Also shared with a number of other Chrysler products, this single overhead cam all-aluminum engine features 4 valves per cylinder, a 10.1 compression ratio, and a red line of 6,400 RPM. It also employs multi-air 2, electrohydraulic, fully variable valve timing, and multi-port fuel injection. In this application, the Tiger Shark develops 180 horsepower at 6,400 RPM and 175 pound-feet of torque at 3,900 RPM. Inside, you'll find a forged steel crankshaft and powder forged steel connecting rods. Performance was right on par with what I expected out of this class. It won't light a fire under you, but it feels sprightly around town and power is delivered smoothly. I estimate it'll take around 8 to 8.5 seconds to hit 60 miles an hour, just a bit quicker than the Renegade since it weighs a few hundred pounds or so less. It definitely felt peppier. As far as fuel economy, the 500X runs on regular 87 octane when equipped with the Tiger Shark and carries a 12.7 gallon tank. EPA estimates range between 22 miles to a gallon in the city and 31 on the highway for front-wheel drive models, or 21 miles to a gallon in the city and 30 highway for all-wheel drive. We've returned pretty good economy numbers of around 25 to 27 miles to a gallon in mixed driving. The turbocharged 1.4 liter in the pop develops 160 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 184 pound-feet of torque between 2,500 and 4,000 RPM thanks to 22 psi of boost. I haven't driven that one and I really wish the powertrain was available in other trim levels, but I expect similar performance compared to the Tiger Shark and perhaps even more with the potential of tuning. I know it would add a lot more fun to the driving experience with that manual. Depending on how equipped, it also delivers improved fuel economy, 25 miles to a gallon in the city and 34 on the highway for both front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Overall, the 500X is a little bit more fuel efficient than the Renegade. Inside, our trekking 500X tester had quite the nice interior, which could be upfitted even further with genuine leather upholstery and plenty of convenience and safety features. A loaded lounge looks downright luxurious. In general, the quality and appointments feel nicer than the Jeep Renegade. You can also tell the Fiat leans more towards the premium end of the spectrum. It all makes sense when you consider its higher starting price. There's also greater attention to detail, creating an inviting space that's unmistakably Fiat. The upper halves of the doors and dash are finished off in soft touch material along with plushy door inserts with synthetic leather. There's plenty of storage in the doors and an appreciable amount of head and leg room for the front. Manual adjusting seats are standard for the front, including height adjustment for the driver and passenger. An 8-way power adjustable driver's seat with 4-way power lumbar is available, as are heated seats. All in all, the 500X is a comfortable vehicle. Even with the standard cloth and synthetic leather combo in our tester, materials felt high grade. The seats have good lateral support, a nice amount of padding, color accent piping, and the 500 logo stitched on the backrest. The seatbelts and headrests are adjustable. Side curtain and seat-mounted airbags keep everybody protected, in addition to a driver's side knee airbag. There's a prominent dead pedal down below, a manual tilting telescoping steering wheel that actually has the option of being heated, and your lighting controls are to the left. In upper trim levels, you also have interior ambient lighting. The center dash treatment can be had in a variety of styles from high gloss to satin finishes depending on which interior, trim level, and package you go for. The trekking has a more rugged, like satin gunmetal gray trim which looks really cool in person. You can even opt for a full panoramic glass roof. I think Fiat did an excellent job at making this a very unique vehicle compared to the Renegade. I also like how the passenger side has 2 separate glove boxes. The bottom is damped so you don't have to worry about it hitting your leg, it has illumination, and the top has an integrated cool box feature so it cycles in air conditioning to keep items chilled.
So let's go ahead and see how she sounds.
Hey everyone, I hope you're enjoying the review thus far. I'm sitting here with my wife, Christal.
Hey guys.
And we thought we'd do something a little bit different and give you more of a personal take from both of our perspectives on the 500X. Earlier this year, we took the Jeep Renegade Trailhawk to the beach. It was like a 800-mile trip, so we really got some good seat time in that. And this is kind of a vehicle that fits our age and demographic, I guess. I mean, we bought a 2015 Kia Soul towards the end of last year, and this and the Renegade were also contenders. So we have a lot of experience with the Soul, obviously. We've had a lot of experience with the Renegade. So this is one particular vehicle that I know I've been really looking forward to checking out for a while. So fuel economy has actually been pretty good. We just drove from Charlotte back home about an hour or so, and it's primarily highway, and we're averaging 30.3 miles to a gallon right now. With a mix of city and stuff, I was seeing around 27, between 28 miles to a gallon or so. With a little bit more city, I imagine it'd be closer to the 25 miles to a gallon mark. But yeah, not too bad at all.
It's pretty comparable to my Soul.
Yeah. So the 500X has really, really good ergonomics. This one is pretty nicely equipped for 25 grand. There's a whole lot more features available in this thing that can push it much closer to 30 grand. But just the overall layout, the overall interior styling theme, I think it's wonderful. The build quality, like I said, it's very good for the class. It's very, very comparable to the Soul, and to the Renegade, it's a little bit better than the Renegade, actually. But I like this. This feels like a Chrysler product. So if you're unfamiliar with the Fiat brand, but you are familiar with the newer Chrysler products, this will be instantly familiar. I mean, the TFT digital instrument cluster right in the middle, the buttons on the steering wheel, the Uconnect system. I mean, it's an extremely easy environment to use. The ergonomics are top notch. I wish that you could get more premium features for 25 grand. I mean, when you have a loaded Kia Soul between 25, 27, and considering the price gap, it's definitely something to consider. But this vehicle drives very differently from the Kia. It's a little bit more sporty, I think, a little tighter, and it's also different from the Renegade. The Renegade being more of a off-roader type thing. It doesn't have the sporty characteristics of this. One thing I was kind of hoping is that it had some of the Easter eggs of the Renegade. It doesn't have any, like the little Jeep that was in the windshield, or the little spider in the gas cap that said "Ciao, baby." I think that, especially this little spider thing,
quirky,
like it's quirky, and I think that would have been really cool in the Fiat. Kind of strange for the Jeep, but I mean, it's awesome. And I like the extra little Fiat tailored bits too. The steering wheel's nice, this tuck and roll leather, kind of like what you'd find in a Mini Cooper. And the gear shift, how you had the little 500 tag, like I showed you, like the little button. It's just really cool.
It's very mini-like, with like the kind of popped out bits.
Yeah, it's compact feeling in here, and that's one thing that I noticed. The biggest difference between this and the Renegade, it's not really in how it drives. The interior is much smaller in this than it is the Renegade. It's also smaller than the Soul, so that's something to keep in mind.
There's still a lot of legroom here, though.
Yeah, and I'll show you guys when we get to the back seat portion. There's a surprising amount of rear seat headroom too, I think. Yeah, all in all, it's an attractive interior. The seats are pretty comfortable overall. I mean, I have really no complaints as far as the quality of materials and the layout of everything. It's nice.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say, it does have push button start. The location of the button is a little bit different. It's actually in a well, like where a key would normally go, off to the right of the steering wheel.
So you gotta do the little touch and feel method.
It's a little wonky where it's placed, but overall, everything else is a pretty easy reach.
I think it'd be pretty cool to put the button in the center stack, be a unique little styling trait, but yeah, that's pretty much it that we can think of.
Now we'll go ahead and shut her up and check out some of the interior features.
Good solid doors.
The 500X is available with 3 different audio systems, a base 4-speaker setup, a more premium 6-speaker setup, and the top-line Beats audio system with 8 speakers and subwoofer. Our tester is equipped with the easy-to-use Uconnect infotainment system and 6.5-inch LCD display with navigation. A 5-inch touchscreen is the middle option if you don't need navigation, and to see that one, check out my Jeep Renegade review. For basic usability, a 3-inch AM/FM radio is standard on the pop. Just like the larger 8.4-inch Uconnect systems, this 6.5-inch setup is also very easy to use. Everything's nicely laid out, the graphics are high-res, and it's pretty self-explanatory overall. Side curtain airbags, grip handles up top, and soft touch visors. The visors incorporate vanity mirrors with illumination and an auxiliary sunshade. There's a manually dimming rearview mirror, and in the top set you have your hands-free Bluetooth microphones, little 500 logo, and reading lamps. Continuing down the center stack, you have your traction control, hazards, and parking sensor activation in the middle, 2 center-mounted air vents, and a standard single-zone climate control system. Fan speed to the left, recycling, temperature in the middle, different zones, and rear defrost off to the right. A dual-zone electronic automatic climate control setup is optional. Down at the very bottom, you have a USB, auxiliary port integration, extra storage, 2 cup holders, the electronic parking brake and drive mode selector, and a padded center console. You can slide it back and forth for extra comfort, or open it up. There's an extra USB port and a decent amount of storage. As far as the steering wheel, off to the right hand side you have your cruise control, and where these blank switches are for the optional adaptive cruise system, so you can get that on the 500X. The left hand side, hands-free telephone, voice commands, and the controls for the driver information system and that little digital display in between the instrument cluster. It's a pretty cool little system. At the very top, you have a digital speed readout, trip computers, fuel information, the drive mode information screen like I showed you earlier, vehicle information, various status gauges, tire pressure monitoring system, audio, messages, settings. Very neat. For added convenience and something I really like, the radio controls are on the back of the upper spoke, so when you're holding it, you naturally have your hands placed there, so it's very convenient. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and shut her down. And we'll check out the back seat. The back seat of the 500X has a lot more interior space than I initially thought it would with the sloping roofline. It's not near as much room, and especially headroom, as the Renegade we tested out earlier this summer, but it's still pretty good overall. I'm 5'10", and with a comfortable seating position for myself in front, I probably have a couple inches of leg space and maybe about an inch and a half of headspace, depending on if I lean my head forward or put it back up against the headrest, because right where the headrests are is where the roofline starts to rake back just a little bit. What's also nice, like we talked about the front passengers have a lot more headroom just because of the cutout portions in the headliner right there. Pretty cool for adding a little bit of extra wiggle room. There's reading lamps up top here, grip handles, coat hooks to either side, storage pockets on the back of the seats, and the build quality, like the front, is pretty good. You don't have as much soft touch material across the upper door panels right here, but there's a tremendous amount of soft touch across the middle portion and the armrest. Not quite as squishy as the front. I mean, the front's really nice, but it's definitely appreciable and nice to have back here. Good amount of storage across the doors, including water bottle holders. I wish there was an armrest that you could put down right here, but you can sit 3 people back here if you'd like. There's an adjustable third headrest in the middle, and I don't think leg space is too bad for the third row. You might have to stretch your feet out to the sides just a little bit, but the center console doesn't come back too far. It's pretty good overall. I expect it to be accommodating. I would imagine you could sit 3 people my size back here. Might be a little bit tight as far as shoulder space is concerned, but I believe it's definitely doable. The back seat is pretty comfortable overall. I wish there was a little bit of extra lower back support. You sit a little taller. I've gotten used to some crossovers having like the recline portion right here, so it's definitely not a bad thing. It's just in a fixed position. Not a whole lot of padding. It's definitely got some give to it, but the seats are on a bit of a firmer side. You have grippy cloth material in the middle portion of this particular model. Like I said earlier, full leather upholstery is available. But that's pretty much it. So let's go and check out the cargo space out back.
Out back, the 500X has less cargo space than the Renegade and Kia Soul, but more than, say, a Nissan Juke. With the rear seats up, you have 12.2 cubic feet, but fold them down, you have up to 32.1 cubic feet. There's cargo tie-downs and illumination. There is a removable floor panel which expands the usable space with the rear seats up or down, whatever you prefer. Underneath that, though, you have a tire inflation kit and a few other tools. Well guys, on behalf of myself and Christal, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed the in-depth review of the all-new 2016 Fiat 500X. Be sure to stay tuned next time. There's always a lot more where that came from. Take care.
Bye guys.